Seriously, guys. The church wants you gone, destroyed, murdered. They don't want you in their kingdom. You are in their kingdom. You're an apostate. They're allowing you to continue to spread the lies so that the church can pretend to be the victim. They want you destroyed just like the homeless. And they're planning on doing it in the coming days.
The mandate given by the First Presidency and the presiding bishopric is to only focus on financial growth. EPA employees are told that the money will be used after the second coming of Jesus Christ or during Armageddon right before he would come again. It is officially, finally true that the Mormon Church could tell every member in the world to completely stop paying tithing now and forever, and it could continue to fund every current program in full without drawing down on the reserves.
One of our brethren some years ago spoke of the payment of tithing as fire insurance. Nonetheless, the word of the Lord is clear that those who do not keep the commandments and observe the laws of God shall be burned at the time of his coming.
Try to have this when he gets home. In my dreams this morning, it led me to my mom dropping me off at a house where two brothers lived with their parents. The older brother was prepping to go on a mission. He had moved his stuff out of the bedroom, including the top bunk, so that his younger brother could have the full room to himself. And I was supposed to hang out with them. Obviously, my mother disapproved with my life and wanted me to have their influence in my life. And it was the younger brother who was more interested in hanging out with me, I guess. So, regardless, it was just supposed to be a temporary thing. I wasn't supposed to move in with them, I'm hoping. Mom dumping me off to another family. She's done that before. Fenstermachers for Christmas. My Bowen cousins one summer. Kicked me to the curb to pick up porn trash. You know. So, after yesterday's video, there should be no Mormon remaining in this church. Everybody knows about Section 119. Nelson's made it very clear Section 119 is God's law for tithing, for finance. Yet it goes blatantly in violation of the Book of Mormon. And I don't think you guys are fully understanding this, despite all the videos I've done about it, despite the sensitive feelings of the church when I talk about it with sexual crimes. But apparently Mormons are okay with it. Verse 29. The Lord commandeth that there shall be no priestcrafts. This is working as a priest, a religious leader. For behold, priestcrafts are that men preach and set themselves up for a light unto the world, that they may get gain and praise of the world. But they seek not the welfare of Zion. Zion is well established as the people, not the buildings, not the administration of the priests. The story of King Noah is a perfect example. King Noah and his priests made themselves rich off of the people, rather than helping the poor and the needy to prosper, which is what Malachi is talking about. Will a man rob God? It's actually robbing the people from being prosperous. You gotta take care of the poor. You cannot allow the poor to suffer. And here in the state of Utah, where the headquarters of the church is, as the church keeps putting out church news videos of how they're helping the poor and the needy all around the world, the homeless are being exterminated at a rate 10 times more than the average Utah. Exterminated. So clearly the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is not doing charity. It's all a cover-up and a lie. They're not taking care of their core base. And yeah, there's the big scandal years ago with Irene and his paycheck stub getting busted. The prophets get paid. And I've gone over with you why they get paid. Not just from Section 119, but it's what led to Heber J. Grant's Articles of Incorporation in 1923 that nobody's supposed to know about. This is when he incorporates the church. Sort of. It's a business, not a church. And so we can't even say that the church was established in 1923 because none of them are legitimate prophets, seers, revelators, or presidents of the church, because this isn't a church, it's a corporation. And if you've seen the Hierarchy of Power series, volumes of books by D. Michael Quinn, you'll get an understanding of what he's trying to say. But this is the name of the organization, the Corporation of the President. That's it. The part where it concerns the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints only has to do with the intention of the incorporation. It is their intention to make money. It's a corporation. Corporations make money. And so they're making money off of the dissolved membership of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints of 1887. That corporation, which Brigham Young established as his religion, is dissolved. Mormons have been led astray, believing that the church continued to exist despite the government problems. They lied to you, your ancestors. And so this article of incorporation makes it very clear. Mormons are chattel. They have no authority, no authorization. That's what Joseph Smith gave Mormons. When he changed the name of the church from the Church of Christ to the Church of the Latter-day Saints, Joseph Smith had a vote in order to make the change. Section 115, there's no vote. Joseph Smith comes out and says, I'm changing the name of the church. This is it. Did he? Violating his own rules and regulations? Nobody seems to want to get this and understand this. That 1838, something happened. And we know Joseph Smith got thrown in Liberty Jail. And in his Liberty Jail documents, he says that he was framed and blamed by false brethren. Who were those false brethren? Was it just Thomas B. Marsh, who gave a sermon in 1837 to the Quorum of the 12 and to the elders who were going on their mission, talking about the name of the church, and the Book of Mormon as another testament of what? Saying that the name, the Church of the Latter-day Saints, is vital and important, and did a whole sermon on it. And so here in 1838, he's being threatened by a group of people called the Danites, and they're saying Joseph Smith is the leader, and Thomas B. Marsh needs to fall in line and join or die. And so he sends an affidavit to Governor Boggs telling him of the threat of Joseph Smith. All you knew was what the Danites told you. His affidavit says nothing of first-hand information directly from Joseph Smith. It's all secondary hearsay information from the Danites. And so Joseph Smith gets in trouble, not the Danites, as the extermination order includes all Mormons, not just the Danites who were the cause. And so it was these Danites who were going around lying about the name of the church, lying about the Book of Mormon being another testament of Jesus Christ. They were destroying Joseph Smith. They were the secret combination. Section 117, there it is. Oops, wait a minute, I thought Joseph Smith was the leader of the Danites. Why is he condemning Newell K. Whitney? This is what nobody is understanding. That Section 119 is Brigham Young's Danite economy. The secret combination economy. It is not Joseph Smith's, because it renders the Book of Mormon invalid. The keystone of Mormonism invalid. Because it says the Lord changes his mind now. He now allows for priestcraft. Section 119. Verily, thus saith the Lord, I require. And by this law, observe this law. Where the Book of Mormon says, I forbid priestcrafts. For the priesthood means priestcrafts. Priesthood gets paid now. And so Section 119 Heber J. Grant just reinforces Section 119. The church administration is it. And the Mormons are to be the chattel to supply the church with its money. And for the building of buildings and stuff, no, that's a cover for criminal operations. Because Thomas B. Marsh made it very clear the Danites were planning on cooing America and the world governments. And Joseph Fielding Smith Sr. makes it very clear as well, even though it's Jesus who's now doing all the work, rather than the Danites. This is the cover story that they tell people, that Jesus is coming, Jesus is going to murder people and take over the governments. But it's the Danites the whole time, the leaders of this church, and the Mormons are going to pay for it. Real simple. So, yesterday, after that video, added to my little book of reference notes a list of all the crimes of tithing. I'm at number 47, so let's proceed to read. Protection racket, priestcraft, rendering the Book of Mormon invalid, prostitution for the wife to have sex, sex abuse, because men are not allowed to think about sex, they're not allowed to have orgasm feelings, which we all do. We can't stop it. We're human. We're male. That's how we're designed. And yet, the church says, no, that is of the devil. And they get psychologists to reinforce that. You cannot have sexual feelings. Or, for the nation, embrace your sexual feelings of your fetish or your fantasy. It's now your identity. And then acts, especially. We all know acts, but the church goes to the extreme and saying you can't even think about it, you can't feel, you can't have any kind of feelings. You got to cast it out. You got to pray. You got to read your scriptures. You got to think about grandma. Ugh. I'm sure that's a porn fetish somewhere. I don't want to know about it. Sing hymns, but the beaten tone. It involves trafficking, child trafficking, slavery, child slavery, because children at 8 years old get baptized and have to begin to pay tithing, and so children are involved in the criminal activities of this corporation. An afterlife placement extortion, a dead ancestor's afterlife placement extortion, a hostage abduction ransom money. I need to add a dead ancestor hostage abduction ransom money. Oh, dear God. 48. Dead ancestor hostage abduction ransom money. Abduction ransom money. Alright. Children, wife. Afterlife placement, extortion, and technically the children with a hostage abduction ransom money. Oh my hell, this is just awful. 29, wife, children, because hostage abduction, that's because women technically are not supposed to work, supposed to be barefoot, pregnant, and in the kitchen. And so thus the young children prior to turning 8 years old are dependent upon their parents, and so thus the father has to pay the tithing for them as well. Otherwise he's a deadbeat dad, and the children need to be taken away and given to good Mormon parents who pay tithing. And thus the whole thing with forcing raped women to have the babies and then have it taken away from them and given to good Mormon parents. Your mommy was an evil woman who got herself raped because she was wearing the wrong kind of clothes, not wearing her underwear, or she was hanging out in places where she shouldn't have been rather than at church or at the temple, reading her scriptures and praying. And so she brought upon herself her own sins. That's evil. And so, yeah, children, wife, afterlife placement, extortion, insurrection, terrorist funding. They could be separated, but I combined them together. Judas money to betray Mormons with. Kompromat, a Russian term of being criminally compromised so that you can be exploited and used for criminal activities. Do us a favor, though. Sex trafficking, child sex trafficking, IRS fraud. They're in violation of the 501c3, for one example. And then once you understand that they're in violation of the 501c3, then the other tax frauds kick in. Incitement to commit crime, threats to pay or be punished, even with death. All Mormons made the death penalty sign. Insurance fraud, not registered as a foreign agent, bribery, judicial process tampering, government benefits violations involving theft of members' government benefits. The FLDS Church, for example, got busted, and Warren Jeffs is now in prison under the initial causation of SNAP fraud violations that then led to the child bride marriages. Government offices, agents compromised, justice tampering, which is different than the judicial process tampering. Because the judicial process is the court trials. The church, if they get sued, they tamper with cases, threatening the judges. Don't proceed any further. Let us go. You owe us. Remember your temple covenants? And so the judges let them go. Whereas justice tampering, this is where they go after the police to hunt down and murder apostates or the poor. Tampering with the legal system, wanting certain laws passed. No porn. Those kinds of things. The Zion Curtain. No medical marijuana. That we all know about, that the church has been involved with justice tampering. Extortion racket. Land grab. SEC violations. Remember that one? Neglect of the poor and the needy. Scriptural revisionism. Instead of Malachi, the church's tithing now revises that. Revisionism is evil. It's where you purposely make your people stupid so that they redefine words for their evil agenda. This is a common thing of suicide religious groups that want to murder their flock or murder and harm other people. Scientology does that. So yeah, it's strange that nobody's shutting down Scientology despite all of the horror stories that have come out from it. Instead, they go after Nexium, which was a sex thing. Give us your money, then you can have sex with the big guy. Theft and fraud, financial exploitation, Ponzi, pyramid, MLM scheme. That's with the missionaries. Press compromised. So not just the government, but the press. That's why the press here in Utah will never investigate the crimes of the church. It's only if an outside press does it. It's only if, oopsies, Tim Ballard is accusing Russell M. Ballard of sharing tithing information so that he can recruit money from the rich Mormons in the church, and for which M. Russell Ballard was forced to take his life. Bye-bye. We're still waiting for Nelson to do it, for his failures. But yeah, it's sick and wrong, as the press will even defend the church, apologize for the church live on air when something hits the fan. You know, when James Huntsman was suing the church for tithing, or the 3 guys who have now disappeared and we've never heard from them ever again. They're dead. They're buried somewhere in the desert here in Utah. Wouldn't surprise me. But yeah, the press has to defend the church. They are even covering the church news as their press. The church has released a statement regarding their disapproval with LGBTQ. Repent or die. It's in the handbook now, so it's the law. Psychological manipulation. Specifically using Family Services, a psychological department, to abuse the public and Mormons at large. If you have a question about the church, so the Book of Mormon says that priestcraft is abominable. I think you need to go see Family Services. Family Services says, oh, you are depressed. Here's some drugs to manage your mental retardation. I've got the list in here still. This is what they do. If you go against the church, you've got the problem and you need to be drugged to have your behavior controlled. That's the psychological manipulation. If by chance you meet a frown, do not let it stay. Quickly turn it upside down and smile that frown away. That's psychological manipulation. Your mom just got blown away. Cope with it. Or, yeah, even in the news, a mother and a daughter fallen overboard at one of the river lakes around here in Utah. And it's just awful, where psychologists go in to have people cope with it. No, it's a tragedy. Kids need to be taught about death, not about how to ignore it and smile their frown away. Psychologists are just pure evil. And the shooting, a kid was shot at some place also over the weekend. And sure enough, grief counseling. The psychologists were sent in for the students, rather than trying to have the legislature make the laws so that they're not oppressive, so that parents can take care of kids, so that the kids don't go to school all stressed about whether or not they're having food insecurity and then blow everybody away, or some guy who picks on him for being poor and comes and shoots everybody. There are all sorts of problems that our government and this church is causing, specifically for Utah, let alone the nation. And instead, they send in the psychologists to divert away from the causal problem and to make it victimize victims of the trauma. It's just sick and wrong, and it has to stop, and our government won't stop. We are becoming Nazi. This is what the Nazis did in Nazi Germany, World War II. And here we are, America. We are transforming into Nazi Germany. Those psychologists that were given asylum in America are thanking their American liberators by turning us into Nazi Germany. This is psychology at work. And so I see it with the Dems and the MAGA going at each other. It's a false dichotomy. We're not supposed to have either one of you. We're a constitutional republic. You're supposed to protect the people, not your party, not big corporations, not foreign governments. And so hostage taking. Church is holding Mormons hostage. Book of Mormon warned you. Great and Abominable Church holds Mormons in bondage. Section 103, verse 17. The man like Moses is supposed to free Mormons from bondage of the Great and Abominable Church. You don't want to leave. You've got Stockholm Syndrome. The psychological manipulation with your hostage taking. Terrorism, insurrection, which is different from the paying for terrorism and insurrection. This is where the church actually does it. Miseducation, disinformation, recruitment, which is different from the Ponzi, but it's in the similar vein. Propaganda testimonials. This is what the press does, but they get Mormons to do it as part of the Stockholm Syndrome of being taken hostage and having psychological manipulation on you. You are reading the terrorist demands in the public. Jesus is the Christ. The Book of Mormon is another testament of Jesus. We're Christian. Yeah, you just read the terrorist demands to deny reality, to revise history, to revise scripture, cause trauma, and then victim blame. The church is the cause, but then they blame the victims of their causation. Operation Rio Grande, church ordered it. And now homelessness is worse than ever, and the homeless die 10 times at a rate more than the normal Utah. Financial leveraging, election tampering, government bribing, and then the two others that I added in the making of this video. This is just awful. When it says that the Great and Abominable Church is led by Lucifer, we are told that Lucifer takes away agency, takes you hostage, kidnaps you, which we do need to add. They had their adoption agency. That was the kidnapping of babies. And so it's not just hostage taking, as you were born and raised in the church and you all are corralled into the cell of church, but you're actually kidnapped as a rape baby and then sold as a child traffic. I mean, this church just cannot do any good. And it is horrifying that Mormons can't figure this out. That they are told not to study their scriptures, and so they never make the connection. So they don't put 2 Nephi chapter 26 in here. They won't do it. Because Mormons would go, oh, okay, yeah, this is wrong. The church knows this is wrong. Purposely did not footnote it. This is a forged document by the Danites. They brought it out immediately when Joseph Smith was assassinated. They had been doing it in secret. The 1842 ledger that Nelson had released, rushed out to put in the Joseph Smith papers, not the Brigham Young papers, before Thanksgiving last year, for which I did my big 9/11 series video, Jewish 9/11 on the 24th of November. It was the 9th month, 11th day of the Jews, which is different than 9th Av, which is day and month, 9/11. And then in order to understand that, you had to be watching my videos where I explain it for you. Genesis and Deuteronomy are month and day. Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers are day and month. Different linguistic pattern. So yes, there's multiple 9/11s with the Jews. Both religious and civil. Both day and month and day. Jews have been victimized horribly since Babylon first conquered them on 9th Ave. So, yeah, this is awful, Mormons, and I don't understand why you're not rising up, because they declare the Book of Mormon a fraud, that the Book of Mormon is false, because Jesus is now a terrorist. Jesus is now the Godfather. And you just let it happen? You let these old men do this to you? They have no power but what you give them. I've done my one-on-one videos with several of the prophets over the years, including Nelson. Nelson is nothing. He's a petty man, mortal, and you've given him all this power? So let's close with Isaiah, which is in the Book of Mormon, but I should be able to find it quicker through the Bible rather than the Book of Mormon. It's 2 Nephi somewhere, but I knew it was 2 Nephi 24. Isaiah 14. How art thou fallen from heaven on 9/9 and 9/11, both 2023 and so far 2024 is setting up for this. O Lucifer, Russell Marion, baby name meaning son of the morning. How art thou cut down to the ground, which did weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thy heart, I will ascend into heaven. He never says Jesus ascended. Never. Always resurrected, never ascended. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like Travis. No, you ain't got nothing. You ain't got game. He claims the titles only and denies the powers of prophet, seer, revelator. He won't even translate properly. Doesn't even claim translator. As I have demonstrated for all of you, I am a prophet, seer, revelator, and translator. And you don't get it? Section 107, verse 91 and 92. It means I'm your true leader, Mormons, and instead you follow this dumbass. Let people sin. Two Hebrew scholars said that Jesus now can mean, and you just fall for it. He revealed in that April Saturday special session in 2020 that he has no clue how to translate, whether through a rock and a hat or the gift and power of God. He can't even translate Greek correctly. And so I bet he doesn't even know Chinese correctly. Thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. 9/11, it's coming. They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee. This is after he gets busted and locked up in prison for his crimes, right? Because you now are believing the Book of Mormon over the church, right? Do you not understand? They are going to murder you to get their kingdom back. Ex-foes, not just moes. Even if you're a never-mo in this valley, all of us are in danger. You need to rise up. All of you. I can't do it. I'm censored. YouTube doesn't even want you to watch this video. Is this the man that made the earth to tremble and did shake kingdoms? That made the world as a wilderness and destroyed the cities thereof? Utter destruction? Day of abomination? Abomination of desolation? Day that shall burn as an oven? Sound anything familiar coming from that? That openeth not the house of his prisoners. He locked them up. And like I said, he rewards. I think I need to put that in there. That needs to be added. Financially rewarding. Oh man, we gotta go to the next page. Payment of crime. Having trouble thinking of what the word is for that. Loyalty payments. Because the church, I got the receipt. I got them. They're busted. And yet, because the government is all compromised by them, I cannot get justice. All the kings of the nations, even all of them, lie in glory, every one in his own house. But thou art cast out of thy grave like an abominable branch, and as a raiment of those that are slain, thrust through with the sword. I go down to the stones of the pit as a carcass trodden under feet. Yeah, when it gets exposed that you betrayed Mormons, Nelson, yeah, everybody's going to hate you. Are you sure you want to be next, Oaks? Are you sure? Because all 15 of you, if I can get this exposed, this is your fate. But there's a way out. You know what you need to do, because Nelson said he's gonna do it. Parable of the talents. Just got to give it to the right Christ and not to Jesus, who's never gonna show. Because then I can repair the damage and build Zion. But I don't think Mormons want it. You've told them they don't want it. I will rise up against them, saith the Lord of hosts, and cut off from Babylon the name, the remnant, the son, the nephew, saith the Lord. I will make it a possession for the bittern, pools of water, and I will sweep it with the besom of destruction. In the coming days,